In the vast cornfields of a quaint Midwestern town, an eerie figure known as Sawtooth Jack stirs to life every Halloween, determined to reach the local church. The townsfolk, well aware of the impending catastrophe, engage in a customary rite known as the Run each year. This ritual demands that all the town's adolescent boys embark on a quest to track down and eliminate Sawtooth Jack before the stroke of midnight. The incentive for success is enticing. The slayer of Sawtooth Jack attains the status of a hero and secures a new home for their family, a handsome sum of $25,000, a car, and the rare privilege to depart the town, typically off-limits to residents. The townspeople also believe that this gruesome tradition bestows blessings upon the harvest. Participation in the run is exclusively reserved for teenage boys, with each family permitted to dispatch only one son. In the year 1962, a cohort of masked boys ventures out to hunt the monstrous intruder. Amidst the chilling pursuit, one youth finds himself standing alone on the desolate road, gripped by fear and uncertainty. Abruptly, Sawtooth Jack materializes behind him, prompting a terrified scream as the boy falls victim to the creature's lethal grasp. Discovering the charred remains of their comrade shortly after, the remaining boys spot Sawtooth Jack standing defiantly amidst the swaying cornstalks. In a fit of rage, Jim, one of the masked boys, sets off in relentless pursuit. As Sawtooth Jack nears the church, Jim catches up and delivers a fatal beating to the creature. The macabre celebration begins as the boys extract candy from Jack's lifeless form, their triumphant howls echoing through the night. Jim, having emerged victorious, is hailed as the hero, earning his promised rewards. Post-run festivities ensue, with the Harvesters Guild hosting a Halloween bash to commemorate the success, and Jim revels in the spoils of his gruesome triumph. When Richie, Jim's younger brother, pleads to accompany him, Jim responds with a heartfelt embrace and an "I love you," before embarking on his departure from town in a shiny new car. A year later, Sheriff Jerry makes a timely visit to the school 5 days ahead of Halloween to emphasize the significance of the upcoming run. The sheriff recounts the year when Sawtooth Jack eluded capture, causing a disastrous impact on the crops, vividly illustrated through images. Jim is frequently cited as a hero, a fact that grates on Richie, who yearns to partake in the run but is thwarted by the stringent rules. Sheriff Jerry's reminders become a source of irritation for Richie, especially when Riley mocks his desire to volunteer, highlighting the involuntary nature of the run for others. Skepticism about Sawtooth Jack's existence arises among some teens, dismissing him as a mere adult in disguise. Bud, however, vehemently asserts having spotted Sawtooth Jack outside his window during childhood, a claim Riley derides, leading to a heated confrontation swiftly quelled by the intervening adults. Post-incident, Riley attempts to pursue Richie for a rematch, prompting Richie to seek refuge in a local movie theater. Inside, he encounters Kelly, a Newtown resident, and their conversation sparks an immediate connection. However, Richie's invitation to the Halloween dance is met with the revelation that Kelly is prohibited from attending due to racial restrictions. Undeterred, Richie pledges to challenge and alter this discriminatory rule upon winning the upcoming run. Later, Richie rendezvous with his close friends Bud and Mitch, who share disparaging rumors about Kelly. Despite their attempts to sway him, Richie remains steadfast in his belief in Kelly's character. Encouraged by his friends, Richie is convinced that he can outpace his brother and contemplates breaking the rules to participate in the run, setting the stage for a defiant decision with potential consequences. As night falls, Richie returns home to Dan and Donna, his parents, who hand him a postcard from Jim, the elusive sibling who vanished after winning the run. Expressing his intent to defy the run's regulations, Richie triggers a heated argument culminating in a regrettable moment where Dan, in frustration, slaps his own son. Rather than dissuading Richie, this only fuels his determination, and he asserts that his parents cannot impede his decision. Storming off to his room, Richie eludes through the window to rendezvous with Jim's ex, spending the night in rebellious pursuits. Carving a pumpkin atop an erstwhile vacant scarecrow stand, upon ascending the stand, it transforms, now occupied by Sawtooth Jack donning the pumpkin as a head. The subsequent day takes a dark turn for Richie when Riley assaults him, taking a cherished belt, a symbolic connection to Jim. In a desperate attempt at self-defense, Richie brandishes a knife, but Riley overpowers him, leaving Richie bruised. Discovering a letter from Jim at home, Richie learns of his brother's apology for the prolonged absence and a plea for Richie to abstain from the run to support their parents. Fed up with being coddled, Richie resolves to escape the town, stealing a car. However, his flight is abruptly halted by Sheriff Jerry, who intercepts him on the bridge. Despite Richie's attempt to flee, Jerry knocks him unconscious. That night, a blanket of restriction descends upon the town, as parents lock up their children to prevent escape and evasion from the impending run. The confined boys, desperate for freedom, bang on doors and walls, pleading for sustenance and bathroom breaks. Their pleas go unanswered, as they endure 3 days of psychological torment, a deliberate strategy to push them to the brink of madness and stoke their hunger for the impending run. As Halloween night unfolds, the farmer readies Sawtooth Jack by stuffing him with candy and freeing him from his restraints. Simultaneously, the town releases its teenage boys to roam the streets and initiate the run. In his bedroom, Richie awakens to Dan discussing a promising job opportunity for his future, yet Richie remains resolute in his singular desire for the run. Despite Dan and Donna's attempts to dissuade him, Richie disregards their pleas and departs. Elsewhere, Bud, Charlie, and Mitch strategically utilize a truck for the run, prompting accusations of cheating. Unfazed, Mitch asserts dominance, dispelling their critics. Richie eventually joins the trio, but a confrontation ensues as the antagonistic group damages the truck. Mitch manages to fend them off, and Richie distracts them with food, allowing the group to escape. On their journey out of town, they don masks, navigating past the butcher guarding the exit, facing disdain from others who perceive their actions as cheating. Upon entering the cornfields, the group's excitement is palpable except for Bud, haunted by a past encounter with Sawtooth Jack outside his window. Unlike his friends, he harbors reservations about the impending pursuit. Suddenly, the truck collides with an obstacle on the road, compelling Mitch to halt and inspect the situation. Unable to restart the truck, the group disembarks, finding the road mysteriously empty. The discovery of scattered candy near the cornfield prompts a rush to consume it, as the boys erroneously believe they have already collided with and vanquished Sawtooth Jack. A sudden disturbance commands their attention, and the group realizes Sawtooth Jack is patiently positioned in the heart of the field. With urgency, the boys charge toward the menacing figure, but within moments the creature swiftly dispatches Charlie and Bud. Mitch, attempting to locate their fallen comrades, meets a similar fate. Sawtooth Jack fixes a formidable gaze on Richie, unleashing a deafening roar that propels the boy into a frenzied sprint. He continues running until stumbling upon the vacant stand, where, to his astonishment, he discovers Kelly also defying the rules. In an unexpected twist, they spot Bud, who had been feigning death to evade the perilous encounter. Bud hastily retreats to town, only to be denied entry by his parents, who implore him to face the challenges for the sake of financial gain. While pondering his next move, Bud finds himself pursued by Sawtooth Jack. Seeking refuge, Bud locates a shelter where fellow teens are hiding. The group contemplates charging him for admission, but Bud lacks the required cash. Amidst heated debates over whether to admit him, the clamor intensifies. Succumbing to the urgency, one boy opens the door, revealing Sawtooth Jack's ruthless assault on Bud. Adjacent to a window, a young child recoils in horror as Sawtooth Jack infiltrates the shelter, leaving a gruesome trail of bloodshed in his wake. Meanwhile, Richie and Kelly, recognizing the need for collaboration, decide to join forces, acknowledging the necessity for more potent weaponry to confront the formidable menace that lies ahead. They stealthily return to town and slip into Jerry's house to pilfer a gun and some beer. In this clandestine venture, Richie is taken aback to witness his father, Dan, appearing anxious and urgently knocking at Jerry's door. However, Dan departs when met with silence. While Dan searches in a neighbor's residence, Richie and Kelly seize the opportunity to also purloin the police car. As Jerry emerges to confront Dan, the youngsters speed away, narrowly escaping a gunshot that shatters a window. Tuning into a radio report, Richie and Kelly learn of sightings of the monster downtown. Racing towards the chaos on the main street, they witness pandemonium as teens ransack stores, looting for sustenance. The butcher valiantly defends his business, taking the lives of a few boys in the process. However, the mob overwhelms him, leading to a fatal beating and the pilfering of his meat. Richie and Kelly, appalled by the unfolding events, attempt to leave but are intercepted by Riley. Riley mocks Kelly for her gender and employs a derogatory term for her skin color. Riley's companion seizes Kelly, provoking Richie's wrath. In a surge of anger, Richie retaliates, overpowering both assailants and brandishing the stolen gun. Seizing the opportunity, Kelly joins the fray, wielding her club against the attackers. Before departing, Richie reclaims his belt. Meanwhile, the escalating madness ensnares the remaining boys, leading to acts of violence against each other. As the group spirals into chaos, Sawtooth Jack discovers a trio wandering alone, launching another brutal attack. Not too far away, Richie confides in Kelly about the unsettling rumors he's heard regarding her, emphasizing that he chooses not to believe them. In response, Kelly acknowledges a past incident where she burned down an old man's barn due to his racist beliefs. Richie, in turn, shares his yearning for his absent brother, the only contact being sporadic postcards. Kelly reveals the painful truth that her parents are no longer alive. Their candid conversation is abruptly halted by another radio report claiming Sawtooth Jack's presence on Oak Street. Oblivious to the ruse, they head in that direction, unaware that Jerry is orchestrating a trap. Upon reaching Oak Street, they encounter a blood-stained statue before Sawtooth Jack materializes before them. Richie, driven by a surge of determination, rushes to confront the monster but freezes in shock upon noticing that Jack is adorned with his brother's belt. Kelly intervenes, striking the creature with her club, but Sawtooth Jack retaliates, injuring her before vanishing. As Richie tends to Kelly, a neighbor emerges, forcing them to leave under the threat of gunfire. Returning to their car, they are confronted by Jerry, who levels his gun at Richie through the window. In a vile display, Jerry hurls insults at Kelly's parents and remorselessly discloses that he was responsible for their demise when they attempted to escape the town. Enraged, Kelly retaliates by assaulting him, inadvertently causing his firearm to discharge, grazing the side of her head. Acting swiftly, Richie intervenes, pushing Jerry aside, and the duo abandons the car in a bid for escape. Simultaneously, Sawtooth Jack arrives at Jim's former residence, discovering the messages on the wall chronicling the 3 days leading up to Jim's participation in the run. The monstrous entity, agitated by the sight, engulfs the entire structure in flames. Not far away, Dan confronts Jerry, expressing his disapproval of the unfolding events. Jerry vehemently insists on the necessity of the ritual, recounting the personal loss he endured in the year the town neglected the tradition. Despite Dan's emotional turmoil, he finds himself unable to oppose the authority of a law enforcement officer. Together, they arrive at Richie's home, where Donna, visibly disoriented from an excess of medication, struggles to stay present. Richie queries his mother about past winners, noting their common fate, either distancing themselves without contact or meeting untimely deaths. Detecting a pattern, Richie grows suspicious and speculates that Donna, not Jim, was behind the postcards and the letter. Desperate for the truth, Richie implores his mother, but Donna, overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation, asserts that it all must come to an end before inexplicably removing herself from the equation. Kelly's revelation solidifies Richie's suspicions. The supposed winners of the run aren't living luxurious lives elsewhere. Instead, they are sacrificial pawns for Sawtooth Jack's return, occupying their bodies in the subsequent years. Faced with the grim reality, Kelly expresses her desire to leave town, but Richie staunchly opposes, determined to put an end to the sinister tradition. Downtown, panic ensues among the locals witnessing the massive fire at Jim's former residence. Jerry, alerted by Riley about Sawtooth Jack's proximity, pulls him into the car, entrusting him with a gun in the hope of making Riley the latest winner. Meanwhile, Richie and Kelly head to the church to await Sawtooth Jack, only to find Dan inside. Tensions rise as Richie confronts his father, labeling him a monster. Dan, in his defense, claims that parents remain ignorant until their son becomes a winner, sworn to secrecy by the menacing alliance of Jerry and the Harvesters Guild, who enforce their silence through lethal consequences. Dan, shattered by the news of his wife's demise, experiences a breakdown. As the church bell tolls, Sawtooth Jack materializes outside. Richie, attempting to convey his peaceful intent, rushes to meet the monster, addressing him as Jim. Unfortunately, Riley intervenes, shooting Sawtooth Jack. In response, Kelly retaliates against Riley while Richie cradles Jack in his arms. Jerry compels Riley to try again, but when a second shot is fired, Richie, desperate to end his brother's suffering, threatens Riley with his own gun. To Richie's astonishment, Sawtooth Jack grasps his hand, signaling a plea to end the torment. Resigned to the necessity, Richie apologizes to his brother and pulls the trigger. The boys hastily collect the scattered candy, and Jerry congratulates Richie for his purported success, yet Richie is left emotionally numb. During the ensuing festivities, Richie remains in a somber mood, disregarding the joyous atmosphere around him. However, when he spots Kelly's arrival, he joins her in a dance, culminating in a kiss. Undeterred by the judgmental gazes of bigots disapproving of their interracial relationship, in a clandestine exchange, Kelly discreetly hands Richie a gun, and they mutually agree to escape together later, determined to break free from the oppressive shackles of the town's malevolent traditions. Following the festivities, Richie departs in his recently acquired car, dismissing Jim's ex's request to accompany him. As Richie speeds away, Dan confronts Jerry in a vengeful bid to exact revenge. However, Jerry swiftly subdues him. Shortly afterward, Richie picks up Kelly and they embark on their escape from town. Their pursuit is abruptly interrupted when Jerry, now in a police car, initiates a high-speed chase. In a tense moment, Richie's attempt to outmaneuver Jerry nearly results in a collision with another vehicle, forcing him to halt. With quick thinking, Richie instructs Kelly to hide while he confronts Jerry at gunpoint. The confrontation leads them to the cornfields, where Richie, at a critical moment near an empty stand, turns the tables by shooting Jerry twice, ending his pursuit. The ordeal takes an unexpected turn when the farmer emerges, striking Richie on the head and compelling him to fall into a pre-dug grave. Despite Richie's plea for mercy, the farmer inflicts further harm, breaking his hand before callously burying him alive. Satisfied, the farmer departs, divulging his involvement in blocking Richie's car. Once convinced she's alone, Kelly emerges from hiding, discovered by Dan. Tearfully, Dan encourages her to seize the opportunity to leave town. Sobbing, Kelly makes her escape without further hindrance. A year later, the farmer exhumes Richie's body, preparing the pumpkin that gradually transforms into the new sawtooth jackhead. On Halloween night, Dan arrives and liberates the monster, still addressing him as Richie. When the farmer makes an appearance, Dan dispatches him, instructing his monstrous son to incinerate the entire town, signaling a macabre continuation of the ominous cycle. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching and have a good day.